You are listening to the Football Diehards podcast with your hosts, Justin Lonero and Bob Harris, sponsored by DraftKings. Sign up now using promo code DIEHARDS, DIEHARDS. Make a first-time $5 deposit, and you'll receive a free $3 ticket.
Hello and welcome to the Football Diehards podcast. I'm your host, Justin Lonero, along with my co-hosts, Mr. Kyle Dvorchak and Mr. Bob Harris. Gentlemen, it is week 13. 1-3. Unbelievable. Flies by. I say this every week. Mr. Harris, what is good in Albuquerque, New Mexico this evening, sir?
Getting cold. Arctic blast heading my way. Ready to watch somebody shovel the snow as I peer out my peephole. I don't know. Looks like weather's coming, but I think it's coming everywhere. So I'll not complain about it. I hope everyone there, you guys are further east than I. So I hope it's delightful. It's Thanksgiving week. Kyle, what do you have to be thankful for, young man?
I have to be thankful for all of us making the Scott Fish Bowl playoffs. You guys earned buys. I got myself in, I believe. Last year we got stomped, man. We got crushed. That was like the joke we started off with at the whatever episode the Scott Fish Bowl happened on. We're all joking about how bad we did. Now we're all kicking some A, man. So excited
Great
about that.
League. Great league, great cause.
Thankful for the DFS slate we have going this week, for the extra one. Actually, it's exciting. We'll get into that at the end, so you don't have to skip through it if you're listening to this anytime Thursday after lock, Friday or Saturday. So got a lot of stuff going on.
Right, and I just want to say, I would ask Justin what he has to be thankful for, but he has two small children, and if he had any other answer but that, it would be shocking, right?
Very grateful for them. They drive me crazy, but I keep things in a perspective. It won't always be like that. Little kids, little problems. It's a good time of year. Santa's coming. I download an app on the phone, so he periodically calls, and you can program it. So if they're being good or bad, it's fun to see their faces.
Spoiler alert: there is no Santa Claus. Just
That's
saying.
Right. They don't. They don't know.
All right, then let's jump into There's a little bit of news. We'll just before we jump into the Sunday games, the Steelers. It's duck season. Devlin Hodges will take over for Mason Rudolph as the starting quarterback there. Not a huge surprise. I guess I buried the lead here. The big news is Lamar Jackson is super good at the football. And didn't see the Rams game. It was amazing. 45-6, 5 touchdown passes, touchdown run, spread the ball around. He can actually throw the football. You guys will be surprised to learn. I know Justin wasn't high on him any more than he was on Pat Mahomes last year. But Lamar Jackson's winning many leagues. So we'll stipulate that. And if you go to Justin's Twitter feed, you'll see how bad the other quarterback is. Justin will tell you all about when Jared Goff stealing the money from his employers. Yeah, well. I don't know that I go that far. But beyond that, we've got the full slate of Thursday games, some injury things to watch. We'll touch on those later. For beyond, everything else, nothing too exciting news-wise. So I want to jump right into the games. I'll go ahead and say Tyreek Hill's probably going to play on Sunday. It seems like he's trending in the right direction. I think if you're looking for, what else? Who else? Who else is there? Oh, Adam Thielen looks like he's heading back. Eric Ebron done for the year. He went on IR. Carson Wentz should be fine. Bruised hand. And not so sure about his level of play, but we'll probably talk about that as well. So
James Conner. Any James Conner? Looks like he's going to be.
So I just, I mentioned Hodges was going to play. He'll probably be playing alongside a backfield featuring once again Benny Snell, maybe to some degree Jalen Samuels. Who knows? We may see
no Marlon Mack.
No Marlon Mack. These are kind of old things that are happening. For me, on Connor, just worth noting is he had some comments Monday that suggested this will be an ongoing absence. He didn't want to rush back, said he was, surgery is a possibility. So my guess is we won't see him for any time soon. And same with Marlon Mack. We won't see him anytime soon. But we'll get into those.
Those comments kind of reminded me of when Adam Thielen and Devontae Adams both said,
right.
Late in the week, they were like, yeah, I don't feel great. I'm not, I'm still in a lot of pain. At that point, you can write them off. When players are optimistic about themselves, they're probably still not going to play. When they're pessimistic about themselves, they're definitely not playing.
Right. That's it. And also, when I'm watching games, when you see someone look at something, like someone looks at their finger just in passing or something, you can figure you're going to read about that tomorrow. Mm-hmm. They're generally focused on the game. So we got that going. So, and on Mac, he was ruled out, but my guess is, hand operation, holding the football requires the strength of the hand, a healthy hand. We'll likely not see him for a few more weeks. But let's jump into the slate, you guys, on the Sunday games. I'll start with you, Justin, and we'll dig in at quarterback. What do you think?
I'm going to go right to Patrick Mahomes up top.
Oh, you didn't like him.
70. No, I don't like him at all. 19 touchdowns, 2 picks so far in the year. They're heavy favorites at Oakland. I think they're going to absolutely go in there. Excuse me, it's at home. It's at Arrowhead, and just destroy the Raiders. We love us some Patrick Mahomes. I'll probably be there in tournaments. It's what we call paying up there. I don't necessarily. I feel like you could go a shade down and pay for Lamar Jackson against the Niners, but they've been stout. I mean, this is going to be a real test for Lamar Jackson, even though it is at home in Baltimore. But this Niners unit is really, really legit. They're about as legit as the Patriots, if that's saying anything.
It literally says nothing to Lamar. It says he's so, dude,
I know.
First of all, defense isn't that predictive. Second of all, it means Jack against Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. He's a man amongst boys. He's a man amongst boys, and he will forever be etched in my memory that he was taken one pick after Sony Michel. This is a guy the Patriots could have groomed in retrospect and invested to for the next 10, 15 years. But it's heart-wrenching to think that, because the man is just doing whatever he wants to do, and he's got poise in the pocket. We're making Mike Vick comparisons, but I think he's got more composure. I think he plays in structure better than Vick did.
I think he likes the game. He likes playing the game.
He's having
he likes
fun.
Studying the game. He likes all the things, Mike Vick can run on the field and just be Mike Vick. Well, Lamar Jackson could do that, except he is also a student of the game. You recall the interview with his former coach, Jim Mora Jr.,
Mm-hmm.
and where Mora said, "Well, I made you these DVDs. Did you ever go watch them?" Nope. They just sat in my car. And he asked him, said, "What if I put $1 million check in one of those DVDs? Would you?" Nope. It'd still be somewhere floating around. So Mike Vick was just not that into it. Lamar Jackson clearly is, and I think that's what sets him apart. And also, we could look back to, you mentioned the Patriots game. Kyle, is he dialing back too far?
Is Lamar Jackson dialing it back too far?
Or is Justin dialing back too far, being worried about the matchup with San Francisco?
Yeah, absolutely. There's I just cannot fathom why you would right now in DraftKings, Lamar is 7K on the dot. I can't fathom why you wouldn't have him ranked as your first quarterback every week. And if we hadn't seen him play against elite once in every few years level defense, there would be some room to speculate that maybe they could contain him. We've seen it already. We've seen him play a better defense, in my mind, in the Patriots, and it just doesn't matter. Even if he isn't the most efficient in any given game, he just gets you so much, so much rushing equity, RB1 levels of rushing equity, on top of the fact that he is a really good passer. I think earlier in the season I might have said he is a great runner and a serviceable passer. He truly is just a really good passer and the best rusher the NFL has ever seen at the quarterback position. He's on pace to set
Bobby Douglas is shaking his old fist at you if he's still alive, but
he's on pace to smash every record as a rushing quarterback.
He really is. It really is amazing. And so I got a little derailed there. Go ahead, Justin. Finish out your quarterback selections.
Yeah, one more note on Jackson. He doesn't have this arsenal of weaponry around him either. He's got a couple tight ends. He's working with Hollywood Brown, who's kind of coming to his own too. So it's even that more impressive, given that he doesn't have an array of weapons around him. So again, Bob, and I couldn't agree more. The kid is enjoying himself. If I'm going to pay down tonight, it seems like, and this is humorous. 4,700, we're going to go right back to Andy Dalton. Oh my, I don't love it. I think that's a stretch. I love the price, and he'll certainly be a digging in the crates play. Sub 5K Andy Dalton seems like a lock, Kyle, for probably 18 to 20 points. Easily pay off that salary against the Jets at home. We're not going to see AJ Green. Joe Mixon's been involved. Obviously, Tyler Boyd went off the week nobody played him, but hanging on to him, and so it's going to be Andy Dalton way down. In the middle, I find myself gravitating towards, which is also humorous, Sam Darnold.
I'm not laughing.
No, 6,100.
I like it.
Yeah, I like Sam Darnold. Another guy who's coming into his own. I think it's taken some time. Bill Belichick has called September extension of the preseason. I think for some teams it's more like September, October, and half of November. And, we're seeing this with Darnold now. 21 DraftKings points week 10 against the Giants. Week 11, 26, shredded Oakland last week at home. So Darnold also has the weaponry around him. I think they have an outside shot of making the playoffs. So for 6,100, do I love it? No, but I certainly like it. You're not breaking the bank. And that's where I'm at tonight. I'm going to get off Baker Mayfield at Pittsburgh. Again, he's doing the same thing as like what Darnold's doing, kind of coming into his own. Too little, too late for the Browns, though.
I agree with that. And I'll just say on AJ Green, I'll be interested to see how that ankle progresses now that his guy Andy Dalton's back at quarterback. We'll be watching that in the next coming days. It wouldn't totally shock me if he somehow makes it back at this point now. But we'll see. Kyle, go ahead. Let's discuss your quarterbacks, please.
Yeah, in cash, I think Andy Dalton's fine because anytime you can pay $4,700 for a dude who's going to throw the ball 40 times, I like that. Jets defense doesn't scare me. They've been a middle-of-the-pack defense in terms of fantasy points allowed. And Justin's almost right that you can kind of lock him in for 18. He went over 18 6 of 8 games he played.
Wait. Justin was right about something?
He if you name every quarterback, you'll be right on a few of them. I just think, $4,700 is so cheap for any starting passer. And, I think he's probably the best of the cheap options, especially. And then right in the middle, there are two guys at the almost exact same price. I like Nick Foles and Carson Wentz. Just when you have a good matchup, just buy players who were bad in recent weeks. Perfect examples have been Baker Mayfield and Kyle Allen. Kyle Allen, especially last week. Nobody was on him, and it was just the perfect game environment. You go into the Superdome, and you score points. That's what happens. For Carson Wentz, you play against Miami, and you score points as a passer, and he has that same negative connotation after looking like trash last week, and he might not be that good, but everyone's good against Miami. And then Nick Foles, Tampa Bay is first by a pretty significant margin in fantasy points allowed just because they have such a stout rushing defense, and it just they score so many points in these large chunk plays that it's hard not to continue to throw against them just in this arms race to scoring points. So that's probably where I'll be looking at in tournaments.
Yeah, Wentz with that amazing wide receiving core of Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert.
Got the Q tag.
Right. I mean those tight ends are coming on for him. So Kyle, jump into the running backs for me.
Running backs, I think there are a handful of ways you can get both Lamar Jackson and Christian McCaffrey, mostly because Jackson price is bad. It's an awful price for the MVP and my favorite quarterback in the NFL. So I think you can still pay up. DraftKings refuses to price him past 10.5 no matter what he does. So yeah,
I got to see more of them. I got to see it.
It's I'm not sold yet. McCaffrey 10.5. Just they're we're capping his ceiling or we're capping his price. Doesn't matter how many games he beats that price at. So I like that. And I think an interesting one, assuming James Conner doesn't play, is Jalen Samuels. I don't think James Conner's going to play, although it could happen. I guess check back into the what would it be? The Sunday morning 9 a.m. show with me and Bobby Gomez. You'll find out if he's playing. I don't think he's going to play. And in that case, we've seen multiple games now of 18 touches for Benny Snell. One when I believe Jalen Samuels wasn't playing, and then the other one now coming when James Conner isn't playing. They just kind of seem like they're fine moving Jalen Samuels back to that H-back tight end hybrid role he played. They just don't seem to think he's. I honestly don't know why they're not playing him. I think he's a fine player, but I'm going to follow the opportunity.
It seems like his role, he kind of came into, play when they were doing the Wildcat thing. And then he had one heavy receiving game after that, and it's been kind of trash otherwise.
Yeah, they just seem to. I think any back who can go out and function as a slot receiver, I love seeing more of. They don't even seem to hardly want that anymore. I think that's one of the best ways to use your backs is just to get them mismatched against linebackers. But dude, Benny Snell's going to get 20 carries. He's going to get 20 carries. And they're at home. It's supposed Vegas has it as a 1-point game. So I think he's at 4,500, just well underpriced. And then on top of that, I think Josh Jacobs is probably interesting in tournaments. Anytime you can get players going against Kansas City they have a bad run defense, but more importantly, another game environment you just want to attack. And I think attacking with the receivers is going to be pretty popular this week with Darren Waller and Tyrell Williams. Now Hunter Renfro's out. Something we missed in the news that we can talk about later because I think it makes Darren Waller very interesting. That's probably all of what I'll have in tournaments. I think maybe Aaron Jones is another sneaky play, but he's a play that you really are just hoping that he does the Aaron Jones thing where he gets 15 carries and goes for well over 100 and scores twice, which he's totally capable of. They are 6.5 point favorites against the Giants. Giants have given up the 4th most rush attempts and the 8th most rushing yards. I think it sets up well for Aaron Jones, but man, they love getting Jamal Williams the ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of talk this week. Matt LaFleur lamenting his failure to make heavier use of Aaron Jones against the San Francisco 49ers, although I find it hard to believe that anyone could have gotten heavy usage in that game because the San Francisco defense was a swarming mess. Justin, who are you attacking? Like a tornado of teeth and fingernails. Go after the running backs you like.
The matchup does not matter for Christian McCaffrey. We've said this a couple times. He's like the Michael Thomas of running backs and vice versa. It's amazing what he's doing. He did against the Saints last week, 34 DraftKings points, 10-5. You're going to have to use McCaffrey or you're going to lose money, and I think it's that simple. What we're seeing from him is absolutely incredible. He's a short shot for nearly 20 carries every week and 8 to 10 receptions to boot. So this kid he's looking like vintage Marshall Faulk, LaDainian Tomlinson type of season here, even like vintage Priest Holmes. So I will be on Christian McCaffrey. I can envision using Leonard Fournette as a low-owned tournament play against the Bucs, who went pretty stout against the run. Squeaky wheel got the grease against Tennessee this past week. 2 rushing touchdowns, but he was 12 targets in the passing game for Leonard Fournette, which is not typical, but he must have been pretty pissed off. I'm fine with Leonard Fournette in tournaments at 7,500. I find myself paying down at running back at this point. It's a little bit of a value play, and I think that would be Melvin Gordon at Denver. I mean, we have seen it took till week 9, but Melvin Gordon is back, and 20, 25 touches per game is what we love, and this is what we can expect, I think, from here on out. So with that is a $6,400 price tag and probably 20-plus DraftKings points. I'm cool with that, gentlemen. I think we can all be in agreement with Melvin Gordon's on the field and he's healthy. Probably a top 5 or 6 running back in the NFL. And not a lot of people would argue that. There are some real good values, in my opinion. If you're paying down, I will not go near Miles Sanders again. He's broken my heart twice this week. But I think Jonathan Williams is in play at home, 5,300. We're paying for the volume here. We already talked about Marlon Mack not playing. I think Jonathan Williams is a short shot for 18 to 20 carries. We love that. We're paying for the volume. 18 DraftKings points week 11 and 24 week 12. So that's fine with me at that price, paying for volume. If I'm going to go down a little more, I do like the Benny Snell call. It is interesting that Jalen Samuels did not get the football more. Benny Snell had 21 carries, but for 4,700, if that's any indicator of the volume that he's going to receive week 13 against the Cleveland Browns, I am in. So you can find some value at running back, and it'll give you the ability to pay up for some wide receivers, but you're going to need Christian McCaffrey this week for certain, just like every other week. I think if you fade him, you are in trouble. There's one more name, and I'm looking for it now. So it was Snell, Jamal Williams. Kyle mentioned it. It's an interesting running back situation in Green Bay, but they love Jamal Williams, used just like James White in New England. I heard something interesting about James White today. He's not getting the usage that he has historically in the past, and that's mainly because Rob Gronkowski's out. So the coverage was different when Gronk was there, and now he's not finding the opportunity. That's where I'm at running back. So Jamal Williams for me is also coming at a discount. I love that against the Giants, 4,500. I think Jamal Williams is a lock for 5 to 8 receptions every single week, and he's also had 24 carries over the last 2 weeks. So seeing some cheapos, and they will certainly be digging in the crates plays week 13.
Well, run me through your wide receivers, Justin.
Wide receiver is interesting. Tyreek Hill right at the top has the Q tag. I'm going to pay right around $9K for Tyreek Hill. He is not much. Now you're getting Michael Thomas land in terms of pricing, and Michael Thomas seems like stability. Tyreek Hill's more of that home run hitter. The Sean Jackson feel to him. I'm still not all in on Tyreek Hill. He's great, no doubt, but he could certainly have vanishing acts. The numbers kind of seesaw. So I'm not with Tyreek Hill. I think you got to think about Chris Godwin. I know this is a game we've been playing all year long. The Mike Evans game, the Chris Godwin game. Chris Godwin showed up in Atlanta week 12, and I had 100% of them. I think that was the play. It was just a matter of time until he did. It'll probably be a Mike Evans week this week, gentlemen. Last week was a Cleveland Browns week. Prices are now elevated, but I think, we're seeing Baker Mayfield play well. I'm not going to talk you out of playing Odell Beckham at 6,700. I love the play. I love the spot. I'm not all in with Mayfield this week, but I am there, and I'm not going to talk you off Jarvis Landry either. He had the revenge narrative going for him last week and had himself a Chris Godwin week against his former team in the Miami Dolphins. So it's right.
Just quickly, doesn't Landry have the better matchup going against Mike Hilton? Or
I certainly think he does. Yeah, and at this point in time, I don't know that Baker Mayfield is this. Is he a guy that's going to cock back and throw 40, 50-yard fly routes? I think he syncs well with Jarvis Landry. We know what Jarvis Landry is. Jarvis Landry is that guy that's going to kind of sit in the middle of the field, Julian Edelman role, low A dot guy, and that's worked well with Baker Mayfield at this point in time. So, yeah, absolutely a better matchup, and you're getting a discount off of Odell Beckham, who's had a disappointment of a season. In terms of paying down, I'm not finding myself looking way down at this point in time. We're waiting for – I liked the James Washington play last week. Deebo Samuel is certainly in play, 5,200 at Baltimore, but I'm not seeing a ton of value tonight at wide receiver. I think Tyler Boyd is somebody that you have to look at based on volume every single week. Went away for a couple weeks, caught 5 of 9 last week for over 100 yards against Pittsburgh. I am there, 5,500. But it's only it's only Tuesday. So when we record, the good thing is there's numerous revelations that happen throughout the week. So my mind will
and we'll be
certainly
covering
change.
Those on the website,
Absolutely.
as always, with great vigor.
You know what? Let me say this. Dollar for dollar. I mean, it's hard to leave this guy out, but dollar for dollar, it's going to be Devontae Adams, 7,000. I think he'd probably be, if I can get him into my cash game lineups, he's going to be there. I mean, if there's any sense of stability with the Green Bay Packers, it's Devontae Adams. When he's on the field, he's 7 or 10 receptions every single week.
He will chest bump you and get a penalty.
Exactly. 10 to 15 targets. The guy has come into his own, and he's been impressive over the last couple seasons. And we're waiting for that Devontae Adams blow-up game. Had one week 4 against the Eagles, 31 DraftKings points. 7K for Devontae Adams. I mentioned Melvin Gordon being a top 5 running back, top 6 running back in the NFL. I think Adams is in that scope in terms of wide receivers, and you're getting him at 7K.
Yeah, I honestly, I felt like, when we saw him in that, and he was injured, unfortunately, in that Philadelphia game, but the Packers fell off the cliff. But I felt like since then they've evolved nicely and made up for it. But I do feel like maybe we see Adams return to, some of that dominant play at some point.
He's getting force-fed.
Yeah, I think that's going to happen. Kyle, let's go. Let's hear your wide receivers, please.
So I really do. As we talk about the slate, I really think my Nick Foles lineups I'm starting to like.
Yes.
I think he's a good play this week against the Tampa Bay. Like, they have the second highest game total of the week at 49, just behind the Kansas City Raiders game. So that's obviously a game I want to attack. And then Tampa Bay just funnels so much to the pass. And the receivers, I think, are pretty reasonably priced. DJ Chark, I just think his price hasn't come up enough yet. I want to say he is 6,600. I think it's a fine price. It's not the greatest value, but it's a pretty darn good value for a dude who's going to get so much of his team's air yards. I think he's top 10 in air yards right now. He's at 35% of his team's air yards. And, the Jags have been losing a lot, and it leads to a lot of passing. And I like that for DJ Chark. And I actually think you basically have to double stack Nick Foles because you're not getting any rushing equity when you can't like really have any chance of getting one done through the ground. You have to think like he's going to throw multiple touchdowns, like 3 probably, to be like the Millie Maker winner. And that's what I'm looking for, is those type of plays. So if he's throwing 3 touchdowns, they're either all going to Chark, or I need to pick a second play, and that second play for me is Chris Conley. 7 targets in, I believe, 5 or 6 games in a row, and he has a lot of air yards backing those targets. So I think you're getting like the alpha number 1 receiver in DJ Chark, and you're getting a pretty solid deep threat. I don't mind D.D. Westbrook either, but I just think I would give, I love me some air yards. Give the edge to the air yards there. I like the Devontae Adams call. I just, he cleaned that one up at the end. Dude gets a ton of volume, man. Gets a ton of volume from Aaron Rodgers throwing a lot of tutties. So that's
$7K.
Good. Yeah, and it's just a low price for a guy we've seen priced up as high as 8 in like the past year or so. So beyond that, I actually think Tyreek Hill is a great play, especially if it gets you off of, let's say in tournaments, it gets you off of McCaffrey or Lamar Jackson, because it's going to be like impossible to play all 3. So if it can get you to a different type of build, I think that's a really sharp play. And there are pretty obvious run backs. Tyrell Williams at 5,400, dude's just a touchdown scoring machine, and he also has a lot of long ball equity. And then, or you could run him back with Josh Jacobs or Darren Waller. And those are the 3 plays. There's nobody else to run him back with. I think Darren Waller is probably the best option, but I like Tyrell Williams as well. Josh Jacobs not getting as much of the passing game work. I think he's like strictly a tournament play. I think Darren Waller and Tyrell Williams are like, at least Darren Waller, fringe cash play. So that's probably where I'd be looking at. DJ Moore at 6,800. I'm fine with going back to the well. Really good player. Like age adjusted production.
It's been 3 games now, right? So
Yep.
And he's shown a lot of toughness. I'll say on Conley too. Just he was a guy that I was on early, having a lot of best balls. Last round flyer guy over some of the other options there, mostly because the time he spent with Nick Foles in Kansas City, they were on the second team together and they formed that chemistry. And my SiriusXM fantasy co-host, Mike Dempsey, who covers the Jags on a daily basis, works in the building. He'll tell you the same. He says that, Foles has said it multiple times. That's the guy he feels the connection with. Not that DJ Chark is, going to lose out to anybody. But if you're looking for the next guy, it might well be Conley. And don't forget about young Nick O'Leary, the fascinating tight end. We'll probably dig in there. Well, maybe not. Kyle, jump into your tight ends now that I've segued clumsily using the O'Leary method.
Yeah. I don't think I'm gonna. I can check my projections. I don't think I'm gonna have a lot of Nick O'Leary. Players I will have some of will be Darren Waller, like I mentioned, 5,500. I really think I know for a fact the emergence of Hunter Renfrow was really like putting a damper on his fantasy production in the 4 games, like Hunter Renfrow's 4 most recent games before last week where he got hurt. Darren Waller was averaging like 3 catches for 40 yards. Before that, he was averaging over 7 for 80. And really, he would have been like the best receiver by a wide margin if he scored a single touchdown in that stretch. But like the fantasy points are kind of skewed to not reflect how much of a damper Hunter Renfrow was, because he happened to score his touchdowns while Hunter Renfrow was playing. But like if you factor out the touchdown variance, his volume, which is what I'm looking for, was really so much better without Hunter Renfrow doing so well. So he's a guy that I'm going to be all over tournaments and even maybe cash this week, depending on how it plays out. Jack Doyle, having lost Eric Ebron, always in play for me. I think he's one of the better values, but I do think he's probably got a cap ceiling because, he's Jack Doyle, and he's not that good. But he's going to get volume. He'll play close to all the team snaps without Eric Ebron. And then Hunter Henry, just one of the better tight ends in the league at 5,800. I just think paying up at tight end might be like the best strategy to go with this week, because I like a lot of the value we have, especially at like running back. So it's probably where I'll be going.
Justin, chime in on the tight end situation, if you will, sir.
All right, guys. The sea of mediocrity it looks fatter. It looks fatter. That doesn't make sense. I talk about
that makes zero sense. But that's your thing, man.
Yeah, it is. And it's a week where you look at the top. It's like, wow, there's a little bit of parity in the eliteness with Kelsey, Ertz. George Kittle looked like vintage George Kittle. So there's some options, which doesn't make everybody married to the same guy. You can kind of swerve this week, and I think if I'm going to use Mahomes, I'm going to use Travis Kelce. I'm not going to spend 89 on Tyreek Hill, but I will spend 72 on Travis Kelce for certain. I think George Kittle is fine in tournaments against the Baltimore Ravens, and obviously Zach Ertz. We like to pick on the Miami Dolphins. Zach Ertz's biggest issue is the other tight end, who you're getting a discount on, and Dallas Goedert is stellar himself. So when they're in these two tight end sets, it's a guessing game. Ertz has the higher upside. We know Carson Wentz will lean on him. Going to pay down a little bit, Kyle. I will agree with you. Darren Waller is certainly in play without Hunter Renfrow. By the way, Tyrell Williams, you've been talking about Tyrell Williams since last February, or this February 2019. Kudos, he's been pretty solid. So Waller's in play. Ryan Griffin just got the extension against the Bengals, 4,300, kind of a fringe digging in the crates play, but I'm there. I like the fact Sam Darnold is leaning on him, proverbial safety blanket. I will go there if I'm not paying 7,200 for Kelsey or 67 for Ertz. No need to go elsewhere because I think the options are stellar. I find, in the sea of mediocrity, sometimes we have to dive into the Noah Fant. Last week, Vance McDonald was popping up in optimal lineups and Janu Smith. No need to do that this week. No. I think there's some clarity. You could use Greg Olsen. You could use Ryan Griffin and obviously the top 5 tight ends with Mark Andrews and Hunter Henry are in that fray too. So tight ends is a good way to diversify your lineups.
I will finish this up on defense. On defense, DraftKings, Cleveland defense against a guy whose name is literally synonymous with bad passes, Duck Hodges. The narrative alone is worth paying $2,600 for. But even without Myles Garrett, they still have one of the more talented defenses in the league. And they're playing a third-string quarterback. They're playing probably a third-string running back soon. Jalen Samuels isn't starting. And I don't know if we'll be seeing Juju. Bob, what are the odds you think we see Juju back this week?
I think Juju might make it back, but does that really have a lot of relevance with Duck Hodges? Not to say that Duck can't have a decent game or a decent series or whatever. I just my expectations would be set pretty low because it hasn't been great for Juju when he's healthy either. So I do expect him back, but we'll see.
Yeah, I know it hasn't been great. My best ball share is going to attest to that. So can my dynasty leagues. But, that just means more good first-round picks next year. But like we said, and they're going to run what I will assume will be just the most, bland, vanilla rush-first offense with their third-string quarterback in. Last week, I want to say they carried the ball 30, 8 or 9 times and passed 20, 7 or something like that. They just want to sort of grind this to basically the game they played against the Bengals last week. And that gives your defense a good floor, and the fact that they're playing a third-string quarterback, I think, gives them a pretty darn high ceiling. Another one, I love me some cheap defenses this week. Arizona, up, I think, top half of the league in sacks, and they've really come on as of late in general. And they play LA, who we saw, LA's just
the Rams look damaged. Are they going to be okay after this one? Honestly,
dude, their franchise might not be okay. They have no first-round picks. They have a mediocre quarterback, and Sean McVay was a fraud.
So I was, I guess my Sunday morning co-host, Jeff Mans on the SiriusXM Fantasy pregame show, had a tweet where he mentions that, remember when Sean McVay was a big thing and everybody hired? How many coaches have now been hired because they knew Sean McVay? How's that working out, Bengals? I don't know. It's just an interesting situation. I think the 1 year aging photo of him was that I saw the meme of him. Of McVay now in 2018, and then 2019 it's the Jeff Fisher picture. So it's heading in a bad direction. But we'll see. Arizona's the team you can rebound against. But I agree. I think those are good. That's a good defense to use. Chandler Jones, kind of a disruptive playmaker.
Yeah, kind of is an understatement. I think he's tied league lead in sacks with
over the last few years. I think he's pretty much the boss of that. And look, there's some great young talent coming on, but Jones is still getting the job done. So I kind of buy into that one. Who else?
I think I just love cheap defense. That's probably where I'll be going. But also I am interested if I see crazy high ownership on the Tampa Bay side of things, running Jacksonville defense, just anytime you can get a low owned defense against Jameis Winston at home as a favorite, that makes so much sense. And I would guess that's already going to be contrarian. So why not double down with Leonard Fournette, who I would imagine even after last week, people aren't going to be back on. Because we've seen the DFS community at large, whether it be DFS Twitter or just the entire player pool, not really going back to the players who did well last week as sort of everyone's fading the box scores now. So I might the buy high model, and also nobody's playing running backs against Tampa Bay for good reason. But all it takes is 1 week to break that model, and that's how how you win the monies.
Yeah, that is a fact. So, we're sorry that Justin had to run out, but let's just touch on the Thursday slate real quick and just, just look at the games in general, and maybe I can get elicit a few recommendations from you. It's going to start out in the early game with Chicago and Detroit. We've got some issues there with Jeff Driscoll has a little bit of a hamstring issue. Bo Scarborough, an emerging threat. TJ Hawkinson nicked up. I talked to Tim Twentyman from the team's website Tuesday, and he says Hawkinson talks like he's fixing to play, and then he thinks that Driscoll's going to play, but part of his, one of his qualities is his athleticism. The Bears, on the other hand, do they have any qualities? What are you buying in this one?
No, I think what you said was very important because I love me some Jeff Driscoll on a general basis because he does have a lot of rushing equity and he's a fine enough passer. But that hamstring injury to me is so important in how you would project him to rush. Where on the other hand, Mitchell Trubisky getting some sneaky rushing equity in recent games, which is really what has completely tanked his fantasy value over the season. In his last game, he rushed for 7 times, which is really what I care about. He only put up 18 yards, but the fact that he was willing to rush 7 times, which he has not done all season. He's only done half of that. He's only done 4 carries once all season. He did find the end zone too. So that's what I care about. And also the Detroit Lions give up just an insane amount of air yards. They're the only team where the opponent's average depth of target is over 10. And it's not even close to the second closest team. So if you can get Mitchell Trubisky to connect on a few deep balls, I'd probably just be looking Allen Robinson. Although assuming Taylor Gabriel does not play, Anthony Miller firmly in play as well. I think that will be the interesting stack of this game, and that's probably all I'd be doing with Jeff Driscoll banged up. I'm really not interested in the Detroit offense.
Yeah, and Bo Scarborough is an interesting guy too, and I would note, and I think I saw it. My buddy Grant Barfield at NFL.com pointed out that without Akeem Hicks and the defensive tackle for the Bears, they've given up 100 yards to running backs in 6 of the last 8 games. So worth noting, Bo. I think he's still fairly cheap and fairly good workload. Wouldn't mind having some of that, but don't want to overpay and not gonna try to build an entire lineup around him. Kind of an extra piece. So the midday game, Kyle, is the Buffalo Bills traveling to the Dallas Cowboys. Amari Cooper had fewer catches than Stephon Gilmore last week. Is this a home and away situation for you? Look, Buffalo, Tre'Davious White, it's no walk in the park. But is this maybe, it seems like to me Amari Cooper's fared much better at home than he has on the road. Is there anything to this? Are you avoiding him? Is this a rebound? Do you think people are running away?
Yeah, I actually would be very much interested in stacking this game. I think it's going to, I'm almost sure it's going to be much less popular to stack this game than it will be the final game of the Thursday slate. So I would be very interested in running Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup double stacks and running it back with Dak, coming off of the awful game. And it does, he is a player who has been significantly affected by home road splits. I think those are probably exaggerated, especially when you factor in, if you're just looking at this season, when one of those road games is one of the best defenses that we've seen in many years in the Patriots, in such a small sample, it's going to skew it. But I do think every quarterback is better at home in general. It's just a general truism that teams get 3 points at home by Vegas, and quarterbacks are generally better at home. Dak may be more susceptible, but yeah, now, like you said, he is at home. I'm probably looking to stack them. I think it's a good week to come back to John Brown. And then if not, I think another player, or you could also run, Devin Singletary got 20 carries last week, and he's a guy who in their backfield is going to get the targets that come out of the backfield. I just think Devin Singletary is a really good back at 5,800. I don't care about the matchup too much unless it's New England. So he's going to get a lot of the team's carries, and I think he's going to get almost all of their targets as a backfield. Love me some Devin Singletary. It's probably all I'd look to at this game, although if you were going a little more contrarian at tight end, Dawson Knox as well is just another guy who probably needs to get in the end zone to get it done. He doesn't have a ton of targets in the past few weeks, but all it took was 2 weeks ago. He had 1 target in the end zone. Maybe he had 2, but he caught one of his targets in the end zone, scored, and the week before that he had 6 targets. So
let's
it's a thin play.
Can we stipulate though that every week is John Brown week? I mean, I think we can say that, right? Every week, every single week.
Every single week is John Brown week. I love me some John Brown. And if you're stacking this game, he is clearly the guy, and then it's Devin Singletary. Those are the 2 guys. And I'm probably not playing Josh Allen on the road against a solid defense. I just think there are better quarterback plays. He's a fine play, but
Right. I think there's a lot of really favorable matchups out there at quarterback and for some lower price guys. So I'm kind of with you there. I don't know about the Thursday slate, but in general, yes, I would agree. So we go into the final game of the day when you're already passing out. Those of you who eat turkey, Kyle and I will not be doing that, I don't think. But
eat any tofurkey?
No, I don't do the tofurkey. It's not good either.
Nah, it's not.
Actually, turkey is delicious. I just don't eat it. So let's go to the Atlanta and New Orleans game. We've got some issues maybe with Julio Jones, a little shoulder injury that he's nursing. Kept him out of practice early in the week. My guess is he'll be fine. Looks like Devonta Freeman could be back. Got into full practice Tuesday. Brian Hill, we hardly knew ye. Now get the hell out of here. So what are we playing in this one, Kyle? Is it pretty much the usual spot? I mean, how you almost have to play Michael Thomas at this point, right?
Yeah, I think if you are running a stack of, if you're running a stack of the Bills game, or I guess the Dallas game if you're attacking from that side, it's the prices aren't super expensive. Let's see, Dak here is the 1, 2, 3. He's the fourth highest quarterback of 6 on the slate. So it's easy to run. You can easily put Michael Thomas in your lineups. And yeah, it's absolutely where I'd be going. His price, has it come down back-to-back weeks? Yeah, it's come down from $9,900 a few weeks ago. That was probably the right price. And then it came down again. And then it came down again. And in those weeks, he has 28 and 29 points. So he's the algorithms aren't working. He's broken the DraftKings algorithms. I think it's fine to eat the chalk with Michael Thomas. And Alvin Kamara, I'm probably a bit less interested in than I have been in recent weeks because the Falcons offense is not quite what it used to be. And really, if you have a positive game script for Atlanta, I'm guessing we're going to see a bit of Latavius Murray. So much of Alvin Kamara's fantasy value in the past 2 weeks has come from the final drive of the game.
Right. Certainly the second half. I mean, he's just been busier there, but you're right. The huge production comes at the very tail end of the game. So I'm kind of with you on this one. And Murray is pretty capable at any given time. You hand him the ball, you never know where he's going to end up. Could be all the way.
Yeah, I like Russell Gage in this as well. If Julio Jones doesn't play, you just fire up your Atlanta receivers and Russell Gage and Calvin Ridley. I do kind of agree that he's probably going to play. And Devonta Freeman, not a bad play either, especially given how much receiving game work he has already gotten in weeks prior. And on top of that, he was always playing with Austin Hooper in the lineup. So now he comes back to a different offense with hopefully more targets to go around. So he's an interesting play to run back like Michael Thomas.
All right, then. So there we have it. It's Thanksgiving week. We've run through the entirety of the goodness, including the Thursday games. We're hoping you have a happy Thanksgiving. Website will be operational as usual. That's footballdiehards.com. If you happen to be finding this website out there in the ether and you're not sure what the hell a footballdiehards.com is, go to footballdiehards.com/free trial and find out all kinds of great content, not the least of which is the Wednesday night roster build video and the Sunday morning pregame video with Kyle and Bobby Gomes, the former millionaire maker winner from DraftKings. They'll answer your questions. They'll talk lineups. It'll be fantastic, and you will love it. It'll be helpful, and you'll win a lot of money. I don't know why you wouldn't do this. Kyle, why would they not do this?
I would like to say Bobby Gomez came with the heat. He called the Kyle Allen, DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey stack, and then we basically labbed out real time the Chris Godwin run it back with Bucks defense stack. You should have been watching that show, man. We had the tournament nuts.
There you have it. Beyond that, you can listen to me on Football Diehards on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio every weekday at 6 p.m. You can hear me on the pregame show on Sundays with Jeff Manns. That's 11 to 1 p.m. You can hear me Saturday night on SiriusXM NFL Radio, channel 88, on the Football Diehards. And that's from 8 to 11. Otherwise, tons of content on the website from all of us throughout the week. Check it out. And also, if you're listening to this before Thanksgiving, I will be on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio at 7 a.m. Eastern Thursday morning, getting you ready for all these games with my good friend Adam Kaplan. So dial it up, check it out, get on board, kids.
That's great. I will be tuning into that as I don't sleep much anymore. I just don't sleep, so I will at least be up in the morning with you getting ready for an awesome mini slate. This is probably one of the most fun and maybe one of the most profitable with the amount of money you get coming in on a unique slate. So for Justin at Justin Lonero, for myself at Kyle Tweets here, and Bob at Football Diehard, everybody, thanks for tuning in. We will catch you next week.